Shorebirds' lives revolve around the tidal cycle. Low tide is a time when they are out on the mudflats, the exposed mudflats, looking for food. You can see this broad-billed sandpiper and redneck stint frantically probing into the mud just below the surface to pick up small prey items, possibly even feeding on bioslime. This is a smaller relative of the broad-billed sandpiper, redneck stint. It has a smaller body and a shorter bill, but it belongs to the same family, the family of calidris sandpipers. And it's also just skimming food off the surface or just below the surface of the mud. This bird is an adult. It's mostly in its grey winter plumage, and the bird coming from the left is another adult, which is in the middle of its molt from breeding into winter plumage. Here's another stint out on the mudflats, but the slightly longer tibia, a bit above the leg joint, compared to redneck stint. The longer, finer bill, the smaller head, and the more humped shoulders, among other things, identify this as a little stint, an adult. This is an adult little stint with an adult redneck stint just to its right as they're feeding on the mudflats. Once the high tide covers the feeding grounds, obviously the birds can't feed anymore, and so they look for a safe place where they can rest. And they also spend a lot of their time looking after maintaining their plumage, which is so vital for them to be able to complete their migratory journeys. And so as soon as the birds arrive at the roost, especially if there's some fresh water available, they'll get busy looking after cleaning up their plumage. So here we can see a mixture of redneck stints with the shortest bills, broad-billed sandpipers with a slightly longer bill, and then the longest bill, the most elegant of the sandpipers, is the curlew sandpiper. And there was also one lesser sandplover which appeared in the midst just a moment ago with a very short bill, a large eye. Here's a chance to familiarize ourselves with the three common calidris species. This is a broad-billed sandpiper, and then these are a pair of two juvenile redneck stints. In the juvenile plumage, the feathers are small and neat and relatively richly patterned, and they're all the same age. The broad-billed sandpiper is molting into first winter plumage, so the wing feathers, the coverts, are juvenile, but the scapulars and mantle have already molted into first winter plumage. And now we have a couple of juvenile curlew sandpipers, much more elegant, longer legged, longer billed than the broad-billed sandpiper, and they have these distinctive arrowhead marks on the scapulars and the coverts, dark anchor shape or arrowhead shape. Broad-billed sandpipers have this unusually broad bill, as the name suggests, and then this is the juvenile redneck stint bathing and washing itself. It's molted one or two scapulars, the grey ones. Those are the first beginnings of molt into first winter plumage. Here's another redneck stint, but this one's an adult. It's in non-breeding plumage or winter plumage, and you can see that the feathers are much more scruffy relatively compared to a juvenile. Two different generations, the fresh grey ones and the older breeding ones. Here's a juvenile, much neater, smaller feathers, more richly patterned, and all the same age. The adult has molted most of its body feathers, but you may see, just to catch a glimpse of the very worn primaries there, and also some of the tertials as it stretches its wings. So it's still in the middle of molt into full non-breeding plumage. And if it were to fly, you'd see some gaps in the trailing edge of the wing that would make it very obvious that it's an adult. Here's another group of bathing stints with a lesser sandplover at the back right there. The stints, the middle one is an adult in non-breeding plumage. The others in the picture are juveniles. And then from the left comes a lesser sandplover, which looks similar to an adult, but in fact can be aged by the pale edged wing coverts, which shows that it's a first winter. So wing coverts on all of these birds actually show them to be juveniles, and the mantle and the scapulars are the plain or brown adult plumage, or first winter plumage I should say. Here comes another juvenile redneck stint.